All right, let's dive into something pretty spectacular today. Planning a trip to the cliffs of Moher in Ireland. You've sent us this awesome Viator article packed with tips, and I think we're going to uncover some really good stuff here for the listener.
Yeah, the article really lays out all the different ways you can experience the cliffs. I mean, public transportation is an option,
Yeah.
especially if you're in Galway already.
Mm.
But for a lot of people, especially if they're coming from like Dublin, guided tours are really going to be the best way to go.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of these tours will bundle the cliffs of Moher with some other cool spots nearby, like
Yeah.
Doolin
Yeah.
with the traditional Irish music.
Yeah, that's the heart of it.
That's the heart and soul. And Dunguair Castle, have you ever seen that place?
That was amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So it seems like they give you a really well-rounded itinerary.
And with the tours, it's not just like checking things off a list.
Yeah.
Like you're getting that curated experience.
Yeah.
Often they have experts that can really bring it to life and give you the context and also just the logistics. I mean, when you're on vacation, the last thing you want to do is worry about driving in a new place.
Right.
So just relax and soak it all in.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're coming from Dublin, that's a 4-hour drive,
Yeah.
under 2 hours from Galway. But still.
Yeah.
So timing is everything they say
Yeah.
when it comes to the cliffs of Moher. And the Viator article has some really good advice when it comes to that.
They do. They suggest trying to visit during shoulder season. So April, May, September, October. If you've ever been to somewhere really popular during peak season, you know that it's nice to go when it's a little bit less crowded and the weather's still nice.
Yeah, they say even if you do go during the shoulder season, a lot of people end up congregating around that central viewing platform. So if you really want a more peaceful experience, you might want to think about taking a walk, venturing out further along the clifftop paths.
Yeah, just having that space to yourself and just the wind and the waves,
Yeah.
feeling that connection with nature, that's really special.
So how much time should we set aside for the cliffs?
Well, the article suggests at least 90 minutes.
Okay.
That gives you time for a walk, visiting the visitor center, and then maybe grabbing a bite to eat at the cafe. If you're a hiker, though, or you just want to like really immerse yourself, then you're going to want more time, like 3 or 4 hours. They even mentioned a 4-hour hike from Doolin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting because they say technically you don't need tickets if you choose to hike from Doolin or Liscanor, but the visitor center is worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, of course, it has the restrooms and a cafe, but it's a chance to learn more about the history and the geology, the ecology of the cliffs, to really understand how they were formed, the life there.
And they have all these viewing points, including the central platform,
Right?
arguably the best view of the South Cliffs and Hag's Head, and O'Brien's Tower,
Oh, yeah.
a 19th century observation point right on the cliff edge, and you can even borrow binoculars from the visitor center. Scan for wildlife, like puffins.
Oh, how cool.
So, have you ever been on a boat tour at the cliffs of Moher?
I have not, no.
You're cruising along the base of these towering cliffs, wind in your hair, salt spray in the air, the waves crashing below. You can really feel the scale and the grandeur
Yeah.
from a completely different perspective.
That must be amazing.
Yeah, I think that'd be incredible.
It gives you that unique vantage point to see things you wouldn't otherwise see from land, like sea caves and
Yeah.
and maybe even some marine life. And a lot of the tours, they depart from Galway, and they will include a stop at the Aran Islands.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're talking about Ireland.
Uh-huh.
So the weather can be a little unpredictable. How do we make sure that we're prepared for anything?
Yeah, the article stresses the importance of layering, which I think is key when you're dealing with a place that can have, sun 1 minute and rain the next.
So windbreaker, rain jacket.
Essential. Windbreaker for those gusty days. And the rain jacket, you just never know when a downpour might happen.
What about footwear?
They recommend sturdy footwear.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to be doing any hiking.
Right.
Sneakers might be okay for around the visitor center.
Right.
But if you're going further, you're going to want something that has more support.
You don't want to twist an ankle out there.
No.
Well,
And here's a tip I wish I had known before my first trip to Ireland. Ditch the umbrella. It's just going to be more trouble than it's worth.
the wind will take that right out of your hand.
Exactly.
So a hooded raincoat.
Much better option.
Okay. So we got our layers, our sturdy shoes, our hooded raincoats. What else should we pack?
Well, it's always a good idea to pack a lunch and water,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to be spending a good chunk of time exploring.
Yeah. It's just nice to find a spot and have a peaceful picnic.
It is,
And
yeah.
of course, you got to have your camera. I mean, the scenery is unreal.
Oh, definitely. And don't forget extra batteries or a portable charger. You don't want to miss out on capturing those memories.
Speaking of capturing memories, and this is for both practical and ethical reasons, the article's very clear about this. No drones
Yeah.
at the cliffs of Moher experience.
It's important to respect the environment and, not disturb the wildlife and other visitors.
Right. So put the tech away. Enjoy it through your own eyes. All right. So now we've covered how to get there, when to go, what to pack. Are you ready to dive a little deeper into what makes the cliffs of Moher so special?
I'm ready.
Let's go!
It's amazing how this article manages to capture the magic of the cliffs. While still giving you all the practical info you need to plan a trip.
Right. It's like they've thought of everything. And speaking of thinking of everything, they even talk about accessibility, which is great.
Yeah.
Not every place is as accommodating to folks with mobility challenges as the cliffs of Moher are.
Right. Like they've got these electric buggies that can take people to different viewing spots, including O'Brien's Tower,
Mm-hmm.
and there's wheelchairs, and a lot of the paths are paved.
That's really cool. I mean, it's important for everyone to be able to experience these places.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's get into some of the details here about the cliffs of Moher.
Okay.
Did you know that the highest point is 702 feet above the Atlantic?
Whoa, that's tall.
That's taller than the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Wow.
Yeah. And to think that these cliffs started forming 320 million years ago.
It's hard to even imagine that. It's amazing.
So for all you movie buffs out there, you might recognize the cliffs of Moher from some famous films.
Oh, yeah.
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. That scene where Dumbledore and Harry are looking for the Horcrux,
Uh-huh.
filmed at the cliffs of Moher.
Amazing.
Yeah.
They've also been in Ryan's Daughter and The Princess Bride, even Leap Year.
Wow. So we were talking about the boat tours earlier. I really think those are worth highlighting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Imagine you're down there at the water's edge looking up at those cliffs. It's a totally different way to experience their size and grandeur.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives you a chance to see things that you can't see from the top.
Yeah.
Like hidden caves and coves.
Yeah.
And you might even spot some marine life. And a lot of those boat tours, they include a visit to the Aran Islands, too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Those islands are so beautiful.
they are.
Yeah. All right, so we've talked about layering,
Yes.
windbreaker, rain jacket. What about footwear?
So if you're just going to be kind of hanging around the visitor center, sneakers are probably fine. But if you want to do any serious hiking, you're going to want something sturdier.
Yeah, you want to have a good ankle support and good traction. Yeah. And comfort is key. I mean, you're going to be doing a lot of walking, so make sure you break in those hiking boots before you go.
Uh-huh.
And that tip about the umbrella, ditch it. Get a hooded raincoat.
Much better option, especially with that wind.
Now, one thing that people sometimes forget is packing water and snacks.
Right. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and forget about the basics.
Especially with all that fresh air, you're going to work up an appetite.
Yeah. And even though the visitor center has a cafe, there's nothing quite like finding a nice spot, with a great view and having a picnic.
So we talked about the camera, obviously. You've got to capture those views, but one last reminder. No drones.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's about being respectful of the environment and other visitors.
Exactly. So put away the tech and just soak it all in.
All right. So what are your biggest takeaways so far? What's resonated with you? It's amazing how much we've learned already. You know all the practical stuff, and then those incredible facts about the cliffs. It just makes you want to go there even more, doesn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. It's like we've just scratched the surface. And what I really like about this article is how it balances the practical advice with that sense of wonder. It gets you excited about the trip, but it also gives you everything you need to plan it out.
It really does. It's like they've anticipated every question you could possibly have.
Mhm.
When to go, how to dress, and those little tips like the raincoat instead of the umbrella.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah. And the part about accessibility was really cool, too. It's great that they've made it so that everyone can experience the cliffs.
For sure. And speaking of making the most of your experience, I loved that tip about packing a lunch.
Oh, yeah.
It's so simple, but, finding a quiet spot with an amazing view and having a picnic doesn't get much better than that.
It really doesn't. Those are the moments you remember.
You've got to bring your camera. Those views are just begging to be photographed.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to want to capture every angle.
But even the best photos can't really capture the feeling of being there. So don't forget to put the camera down, take it all in, feel the wind and the waves. and just appreciate the beauty of it all.
So true. Yeah.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive here, I'm going to leave you with this. Imagine standing on those ancient cliffs, wind in your hair, with a view that goes on forever. What emotions do you think you'd feel? Awe, a connection to something bigger than yourself.
Maybe a sense of wonder at the power of nature,
Oh,
or,
wow.
just feeling really small in the grand scheme of things.
Well, then to think about, huh? And if you're feeling inspired to plan your own trip, be sure to check out the full Viator article. We'll link to it in the show notes. Until next time, happy travels, everyone.